Technologic.
Marketing Tech Blog.
Technologic. Buy it, use it, break it, fix it, crash it, change it, melt it.
Hi, Jen.
Nice to
Yeah.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
That's fine.
Jen, it is great to see you here, and you got some awesome stuff from Marketing Tech Blog this week, don't you?
Yes, I do. Today I want to talk about the content marketing conundrum. Actually, this is a lot more common than people realize. People today have the tools to see conversions and traffic and whatever in real time, but what they don't realize is that marketing is still a long game. Mm-hmm. So even though we have the ability to see results in real time, doesn't mean they're going to happen in real time. So we've dealt with a lot of clients who come to us for white papers, infographics, blog posts, whatever it might be. And content can be low effort or high effort. Most of the time it's high effort. It takes a lot of time. Time is money. But people, if they don't see results in 30 days, like there's not 100 white paper downloads, they tend to get frustrated.
So it's kind of like resetting the expectations. That's where you're going.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, the goal is to create content that's going to serve you for years. I mean, some of our most popular articles on the Marketing Tech Blog were written 5 years ago.
Yep.
And a primary search phrase for us. So it's kind of reset, like you said, resetting the expectations, but it's also resetting what kind of content you're going to do. Everybody also thinks that it has to be current or present to be relevant, and it doesn't. It needs to be just relevant in general, relevant and frequent in general. So a couple of tips when working on your content marketing campaign. One, really think about how the topic is going to serve you in the future. Is this blog post, is this infographic, is this white paper going to be relevant from a search perspective, a social perspective? You know, can you send this to a client in 3 years? Obviously things change, but at the core of your business, is this going to help? Secondly, variety is key. We're a combination of different types of learners. There's auditory, kinesthetic, and visual. 65% of the general population are visual learners, and then the other 35% are a mix of auditory and then kinesthetic. They learn by doing. Even though most people are visual, you know, creating infographics or images or videos or what have you, there's still going to be that crowd, specifically the over 40, over 50 crowd, who are going to prefer to listen to radio.
Hey, look at that.
Or podcasts. So those are equally important. Actually, I saw a stat recently about webinars. Audio is a bigger issue if it's bad than if the slide deck is either bad or the quality's not good. They don't care about the slides. They want to hear what you have to say. So that kind of supports what I'm saying. But to that point too, the kinesthetic, the people who learn by doing, that's why how-to posts are so popular. How-to post blogs.
Top tens and
right.
Yeah.
Right. So also appeal to different types of learners. And in terms of variety, obviously infographics and white papers are higher effort. But it's really focusing on, since these are so high effort and they're going to cost more money, you really need to solidify topics that are going to make sense for you for the future. Blog posts can be a little bit more, okay, we need to focus on now. So that's some of my tips.
Let me ask you this, from a client expectation standpoint, because content marketing, in a perspective, it looks like you're building a lot of good channels of information. But what should a client expect from return? See, that's the problem, is that there's a perspective of return on investment that is sometimes counterproductive to really the gardening. You're growing a garden of good content that's going to pay off in dividends for a long time in the future. How do you actually help reset that expectation level? Because if I'm not getting, like you said, if I'm not getting visits to my site, right, or if I'm not getting visits to that page, or I don't have so many downloads, how do you help in reassessing what the benefit was, even at a short-term layer?
Right. Well, this also comes down to just a basic psychological preference. People engage where they want to engage. Like if I prefer Twitter, I'm going to go to Twitter to look for my resources. If someone prefers emails or references from friends, that's where they're going to go. So half the time in marketing departments, even though they think they're doing a variety, they're really not. Marketing is kind of like music. You have the beat, which might be sending continuous emails. You have the guitar, which might be blog. I don't know, whatever it might be.
That's awesome.
But you have to keep the tone going and you have to engage. It's multi-channel. If you're not doing multi-channel, and I mean like probably 10 different channels, then sure, it's not gonna work, because the stats that I've seen, like Facebook is not the best place to put an ad for a white paper. Sure, it's targeted. You might get some clicks, but the conversion rate's not that great.
Right.
People are probably going to convert more with a PPC landing page, or if they see it coming through an email, or you have sponsored, like Marketing Profs is sponsoring your white paper, something along those lines. So it's keeping those multi-channels open. But in terms of the return on investment, it's consistently gauging, one, to make sure the efforts are happening. Two, like, okay, if we're not getting traffic to that page, is there something structurally wrong with the page? Is there content on the page that's either not compelling enough? It's consistently adjusting, but most of the time the content is performing over time.
And that's the biggest thing is to reset it, be looking at a longer term perspective and having multiple channels. You're flanking it at two different perspectives.
Yep.
We like to look at it as a different type of perspective instead of return on investment, a return on objective.
Yep.
So your objective is for focusing on brand and focusing on message and making sure that the message is coming across in multiple channels. That at any point in time, a user who's in a certain area of your channel will be able to see multiple times where you're actually communicating. They're not going to see all 10, but they may traipse across a couple of those. What you're doing is laying all these lanes of communication out there. It's not at a direct linear, there's so many transactions on this page from this particular. It's got to be that holistic, and I'm not really a tree hugger, but you gotta look at it that way. You really do.
Well, half the time you don't even know. Like, we have all these tools, sure, but I could have found out about Angie's List from a commercial, didn't decide to go to their site for 2 months, and then I'm engaging them once a week for 3 weeks,
That's right.
So, I mean,
it's how people absorb information.
Yeah.
Is that it's not going to be a direct line shot into a conversion, but you're planting that in their heads, and then another one, and eventually there's going to be a triangulation, and that consumer comes through the door, right? Yeah. But you have to lay all that out there. That's the important thing.
Yep.
Well, fantastic. Thank you very much, Jen. And they can find Jen Lezak and her information over at marketingtechblog.com, right? Yep. What's her Twitter handle? They certainly want to follow you.
At JLisak, JLISAK.
Excellent. You want to check out Marketing Tech Blog because there's constantly good information on a daily basis, great information in a lot of different channels, infographics, how-tos, just like what Jen's talking about, as well as really good market insight into all these different areas that we talk about. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you next week.